With all the emotional segments that I've seen on Raw tonight, I really was expecting Oprah to come out with two great big leather chairs, sit each of these wrestlers down, and have a good talk. This is the end of the year. The end of 2014 is nigh. It is not that far off, people. It actually is, well, technically at this moment is pretty much about 1 day away. So we are close to 2015, y'all. And we are pretty much in the whole realm of actually being close to Royal Rumble time, which happens to be the road to WrestleMania. But I guess I kind of expected that tonight, but the biggest thing that was supposed to be happening tonight that everybody was pretty much expecting was the whole discussion about Daniel Bryan and his future in this business. So that was the only thing I really believe a lot of people were looking forward to, trying to figure out whether or not he was going to retire or whether or not he was going to do something else or actually be a part of the Rumble, whatever, we don't know. But besides having some pretty good matches towards the end of the year, which they usually do, and I'm not really expecting anything bad coming from them, the only disappointment that I saw was the fact that Miz Dow and The Miz lost the belts to the Usos on Raw for the end of the year, which I guess is supposed to be something symbolic. I don't know if it was. I missed it. But I just know the Usos were the most boring champions that I've ever seen and experienced on TV, and it was a disappointment knowing that Miz Dow is getting a lot of a huge fan base and a lot more. He's becoming a lot more popular than The Miz. Why in the world would you give it to the Usos? Seriously. Not that the Usos are bad wrestlers. They're not bad wrestlers. It's just the fact that they're so doggone boring. But that's another story in itself. They end up losing the belts tonight, and they didn't get a rematch. We're probably going to see a little bit later down the line. But we had a bunch of decent matches tonight, and that's something to be expected from this show. But there were a few things that absolutely kind of confused me, especially the ending. But I'm going to get into the one thing that everybody was going to probably be talking about, Daniel Bryan. Yeah, most of the fans kind of had in the back of their minds with Daniel Bryan's serious injury, weren't really sure if he was going to ever return. Especially knowing that he was supposed to have surgery again on his neck. And we weren't particularly sure if he was going to ever wrestle again. And there was always something that was rising in the balance. Is he coming back? Is he not coming back? What is he going to do after WWE? But from what he actually stated is that he is going to be in the Royal Rumble. Now here's another bit. This is something that kind of makes me a bit skeptical. The WWE has been extremely fickle as of late, especially when it comes to the actual push of Roman Reigns and the push of Sting. So right now, with that pretty much hanging in the balance, I don't know what the status of Daniel Bryan is going to be. I know that people are expecting Daniel Bryan to win. Now that Daniel Bryan is actually in the Rumble, they're expecting him to take it all and to get the belt back. But the biggest thing now is they're pushing Roman Reigns down our throats, inside our eyeballs, and inside every crevice we got. Because they really want us to like him that much. So, if we have Daniel Bryan in the Rumble, more than likely he's not going to win. Because they really do want Roman Reigns to be the champ. But I'm hoping that they learn their lesson from WrestleMania 30. And they actually start listening to the fans instead of listening to what they want to do. Or not, we're listening to what their inner monologue is every single day. But I'm hoping that Roman Reigns do not win. Now that Daniel Bryan is in it, I'm hoping that Daniel Bryan actually does win. And at least if he does retire, he goes out with a bigger bang than he did going in. But that's just my own personal thoughts here. Now, the show itself is supposed to be pushing the Royal Rumble. It's supposed to be getting you crunk towards 2015. But here's the second gripe that I had of the night. Did I even talk about? I don't think I did, but I don't worry. Here's my first gripe that I have of the night. There was way too many emotional segments. I really was expecting Oprah to come out in a big chair and to literally have a moment with these guys. Everybody has something to whine about. I'm like, number one, Ryback. Ryback is probably the second talking point of the whole night. Why in the world did Ryback come out and actually just have a breakdown, nearly crying moment of his past on up to now when it was completely unnecessary? I'm not all up against somebody, being emotional when they're about to leave. It makes sense. You want to be, you have carte blanche to be emotional when you're about to retire, especially if it's in a business that you love. But for crying out loud, Ryback had no reason to go out there and whine and have everybody's sob story just to make us like him. We already liked Ryback because he was repackaged into an anti-hero to somebody that didn't really have a line. He really didn't have any kind of moral code he had to stick with anybody with. He had a very neutral gray area, which works for a character like Ryback. But for some strange reason, they decided to bring out a ridiculous sob story, which was unnecessary to make us like him when we already did. Feed Me More pretty much got the guy over, not to mention that it made us kind of like him again, how they repackaged him. But now they're repackaging him again as a babyface? Why? He was fine the way he was. He didn't have to be a sobby, whiny baby. We just wanted an anti-hero. An anti-hero that did not have a moral code to anybody, that just had a gray area and did what he wanted. That's all we wanted. But somehow, somebody thought it would be great to turn Ryback into a babyface. Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Then moving on to my second gripe of the night, Cesaro. Now, don't get me wrong. We all know, especially in the YWC and IWC, especially those that are doing the hashtag, bring Cesaro back, or we want Cesaro. We all know that there are people that's trying to push Cesaro heavily in the YWC and IWC. They even did like trending hashtags. But we know this. We know he's being he's being like put in a situation unfairly. We know that he is not being pushed the way he should be, especially the fact that he won the Andre the Giant Battle Royal. We know this. The guy happens to be a great talent. But for crying out loud, do not make the ring your own personal podium. Just don't. We already know you're being treated unfairly. Just ask the New Day. But I'm not going to get into them. It's all about Cesaro. Now, we know that Cesaro is being treated unfairly, like I said before, and Cesaro knows he's been treated unfairly, but it was to the point where it didn't even last that long, and I guess that maybe his emotional pouring out of how unfair he is, how much he doesn't care about the fans, and honestly, I don't blame him. The WWE Universe are completely fickle. They go right and left at the drop of a dime, and then they like you or they hate you within maybe a few months. But it wasn't so much the fans' fault. And it's pretty much, you can kind of tell that everybody's kind of pissed off and they're trying to vent their aggression and their grievances on the air about what's going on unfairly in the WWE. We know this. But it just seemed like that it was just nothing. It just fell on deaf ears because here comes Bad News Barrett. I love me some Bad News Barrett. I'm happy that Bad News Barrett is back, but he shouldn't have came back to that. I'm sorry. Bad News Barrett should have had a much better entrance, a much better debut than that. That was just something that was completely just less than what Bad News Barrett really is. As much as Cesaro has dropped, it just showed me that that's how much they cared less about Bad News Barrett. Having him beat up Cesaro, having Cesaro job to Bad News Barrett. When Bad News Barrett should have bigger fish to fry. He should be beating up people bigger than, well, he should pretty much be fighting in a really decent, very high popular, high profile feud. And it just seemed like it was less than what Bad News Barrett deserves. That's just me personally. And it was less than what Cesaro deserved. Now, I'm going to move on to my third issue of the night. The third talking point. Wow. Seth Rollins. Okay, it was great to see Edge and Christian back out there, you know, goofing off and cutting up and doing all that other stuff. And it was great that we had the first ever cutting edge peep show, which was kind of interesting. But the one thing that kind of got me is that Seth Rollins literally kidnapped Edge just to bring the Authority back. Really? That's the biggest moment of the night. Seth Rollins literally kidnapped Edge by threatening to break his neck just to bring back the Authority. Yeah. It would make sense if that Seth Rollins had more strife, and actually it wouldn't make any sense at all. This was a moment where the Engineer had the opportunity to shine without the Authority. And I'm going to be real. The Authority was literally sucking the life out of the show. it pretty much came close to being the kind of the WWE version of Immortal. I hate to say it, but they kind of were. The faction kind of got a little bit bigger than it did. The faction should have died out when it should have at WrestleMania 30. But instead, they decided to beat a dead horse, and it literally was sucking the life out of the show. Now that it's gone, even though the show has absolutely no direction whatsoever, it was fine without the Authority. But the interesting thing is that you're going to kidnap Edge, a wrestler, somebody who can literally fight his way out of somebody who is considered to be a paper bag like Seth Rollins. Don't get me wrong. Seth Rollins is a strong dude, but he's a paper bag compared to Edge. Edge is a little bit bigger and stronger than him. Edge could have taken him out. And yeah, you had the Big Show in the ring, but then you had John Cena on the outside. So either or, Edge could have gotten out without being hurt. So in a way, it was pointless to have that whole kidnapping thing and saying, he has a family, John, I'm going to break his neck. Just to bring back the Authority. Yeah. And the one thing that I found pretty funny was the fact that John Cena was quick to make all these little quick whips and all these little making fun of stuff and joking and jumping around when it came to his people having his back at Survivor Series, talking all this crap and all this yin yang and jumping around and making jokes and kind of making fun of the whole situation. But when it came to Edge, for some strange reason, he was quick to be like, I want the Authority back. I'm like, dude, you could have literally made so many jokes and actually kind of turned the tables on this dude to kind of knock him off his game. To try to, seriously, you could have done that. Because Seth Rollins is a great talker. But Seth Rollins isn't that great when it comes to manipulation. He's just not that good at it. John Cena can get there, but John Cena could have done something to make him think and knock him off his game. He could have done something to kind of have Edge wiggle out and escape. I mean, something could have been done. Like, seriously, John Cena's always making jokes. He made no jokes at all outside the ring. I'm like, since when you don't make jokes about serious situations? But honestly, my overall thoughts is this. It's the end of the year, people. You kind of thought it was going to go out with a bang. You kind of thought it was going to do everything it can to pump up the Royal Rumble, but it didn't do that. It fell flat. Those three segments were the one thing that kind of pissed me off for the rest of the night, but I will say it did have some good matches to round off 2014 the way it should be. But honestly, I'm hoping that they do a lot better and a lot more for the Royal Rumble, because the Royal Rumble needs to be better this year. We already have issues going on to what's going to happen at WrestleMania 31. I really hope they don't mess this up. But guys, I really want to hear your thoughts about this. Leave a comment in the comment section below or send me a video response of how you feel about Raw. Because honestly, I really was thinking about doing a Raw review tonight anyway, because it's the end of the year. But I still want to hear your thoughts about it. It's Nature Girl 30 signing off. Peace out. Later.